2 weeks ago, something, I was on Twitter and I saw an Elon Musk tweet. And I don't follow Elon Musk. I don't go to his page looking for what he tweets or what he says. The things just show up in my feed. I assume since he's the owner and since he really craves attention, that he makes it so his tweets pop up in everyone's feed that's on Twitter because he owns it. So, and like I've said before and others have said in these previous videos, things I've read, he needs validation. He needs attention really bad, like a small child. So I assume he makes his tweets show up in everyone's feed. And like I said, a week ago, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I saw one of his tweets and it was something that he wrote that it made me think he was human once. I was like, wow, this sounds kind of human by Elon. And I'll get into that, but I want to talk about this first screenshot I have that really has more to do with what I said yesterday. Subsidies for companies, all these millionaires and billionaires getting handouts from the government and other places, money from their parents, whatever the case may be. Really the point of this screenshot, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but I want to reiterate it, and I should have included it in last night's video or yesterday's video. Noam Chomsky again. A basic principle of modern state capitalism is that cost and risk are socialized while profit is privatized. I talked about yesterday how the government gave Tesla a shit ton of money. Government subsidies they give the oil companies. Does the government get any profits from the oil companies? No. Does the government get any of the profits from Tesla? No. That's interesting, isn't it? Tax money can be given to billion dollar corporations, socialism, socialist welfare handouts can be given to billionaire companies. Those same CEOs and shareholders will vote R because they hate socialism and they hate it. They hate any money going to the public, or they hate wealth redistribution. You ever hear that term? Redistribution of wealth. Whenever people talk about that, redistribution of wealth from the rich to the poor or middle class, that's evil. That's commie stuff. That's socialism. But we've had example after example in government under Democrats and Republicans over the years of redistribution of wealth from the poor and middle class to the rich. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. This is what they tell us. This is what the rich people like. This is what the corporate CEOs and shareholders like. They love when the redistribution happens from the bottom up. But if you ever dare talk about redistribution from the top down, that's evil, commie, socialism, Nazi stuff, bullshit. It's the exact opposite. The wrong and evil thing, in my opinion, is redistribution of wealth from the bottom up. What more disgusting event can happen in humanity? There's not much. There's some more disgusting events that can happen, but not much. And this has happened time and time again with things like PPP loans, too big to fail bailouts, stuff like that. Another thing that's socialized, that Noam leaves out of his saying here, are the losses. When you hear the term too big to fail, what does that mean? That means we got to socialize the losses. We got to take taxpayer money and bail out billion-dollar companies. That's not capitalism, people. That's socialism. But again, socialism is always acceptable, always fine, when it's for the rich. Welfare is always fine when it's for the rich. Welfare is only a problem when it's for the poor. I remember back when Bushy Jr. was president and the beginning of Obama's term, because they did bailouts under both of those presidents for too big to fail companies. In other words, redistribution of wealth from poor and middle class to rich. I remember calculating what they were giving to those companies. And they could have sent every poor person and middle class person, let's say that makes under $100,000 over 18, they could have sent everyone a check for at least $20,000, and it would have cost less than bailing out all the banks and trading firms and all that, all the rich people. And what would have happened with that money when the poor and middle class got their $20,000, $30,000 check? Well, they would have paid their rent or their mortgage. They would have bought food. They would have paid their utilities. They would have paid some of their debts off. In other words, the money just would have flowed upward anyway. People, most middle class people and poor people, they can't save. They've got to dispense the money immediately. So wouldn't that plan have worked as well instead of just giving all the money directly to rich people? Of course it would have. But that would have helped you out. And that's never the goal. The goal is never to help the poor or middle class person out with a fat check. The goal is always, let's give it to the rich people. Then you're still stuck with your debt, your utility bill, your mortgage, your rent, your car payment. No problem gets solved for you. That's always the problem. And what Noam Chomsky is saying here, it's kind of ironic that it's perfectly fine in state capitalism when the cost and risk are socialized and the losses are socialized, but the profits are never socialized. And rarely ever does a company say, we've made so much this year. Let's take, again, Exxon, for example. We've made so much this year. Guess what? We're going to give all our lower level employees a raise just because we've made so much money. Does that ever happen? No, it never happens. Again, my point is, this world is so ass backwards. And we have rich senators and congressmen and corporate CEOs that try and expound their bullshit philosophies on us anytime anyone dares speak an idea that might help out the poor. We can't do that. That's socialist. That's wrong. That's not capitalism. But those same CEOs, those same fucking companies will always have their fucking hand out for our tax money. They'll always have their hand out to the government. Can we get subsidies? Can we get $500 million to start this idea, this company? No, we're not going to give any of the profits back to the government or back to the people. But can we get $500 million to start this idea, like Tesla, for instance? It's disgusting, and we just live with it. And I'm personally sick of it. I want to see somebody come out and say, you know what, instead of top trickle down economics in the form of subsidies, tax cuts, blah, 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 whatever scam they want to run on us to give more money to rich people, which always ends up, with more layoffs and, stock buybacks instead of hiring and stock buybacks instead of raises and stuff like that. It never trickles down. The only thing that trickles down on the poor and middle class ever is piss. That's it. Never money. Instead of that, I'd love to see a president and a majority Senate and a majority Congress say, you know what? We're just going to send $50,000 to everybody who makes, I don't know, under 100 a year. Why? Because we want to try a different experiment here. We want to try giving a lump sum of money to poor and middle class people and see what happens. You know what would happen? Again, what I said in the beginning. Poor and middle class people would pay their car payments, pay their rent, pay their mortgage, buy food, buy clothes, stuff like that. In other words, the money would be dispensed and it would end up in rich people's pockets any fucking way. But the difference would be some of your problems, your poor people and middle class problems would be solved. Your mortgage would be paid, would be current. Your rent would be current. Your loans, whatever you have, a car loan, college loan, whatever, would be paid down a little bit. But again, that's never a good idea because poor people can't be trusted with the money, right? That's what they'll say. Middle class people can't be trusted with the money. We got to give it to the rich because they can be trusted with the money. These are the bullshit philosophies. Millionaire economists will fucking say on the news channels. Millionaire senators will say on the news channels and in the halls of the Senate and Congress. Presidents will say these things. The head of the IRS will say these things. And the world just goes on and we just all accept it. It's fucking disgusting. Anyway, let me go into the real reason I wanted to do this video, which is the time I thought Elon Musk was human once. Let's go to it. Here's a screenshot. It's a person on Twitter that has screenshot a tweet by Elon Musk. Now, let me give you the context for this tweet because I saw this tweet a week or two ago. It showed up in my feed. What was going on was someone was talking, was on Elon Musk's page, Twitter page, asking for him to reinstate Alex Jones. Alex Jones, who owes about $1 billion now to the Sandy Hook families that he lost to in court for lying. Elon straight up said, no, I'm not reinstating Alex Jones. The guy pressed him. Oh, Alex has apologized and blah, 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 blah. And so eventually Elon got to the point where he said, my firstborn child died in my arms. I felt his last heartbeat. I have no mercy for anyone who would use the deaths of children for gain politically or otherwise. And I read that. I was like, okay, maybe Elon's human. But then I thought about it and I realized Alex Jones is a liability to any platform that would let him on. He's been found utterly guilty in court of inciting violence and lying and all this. And he's got to pay $1 billion. Elon would rather eat shit than let Alex back on Twitter and get sued for it. That's the only reason. It ain't about children. Elon ain't human. Because he's letting Trump back on. He's letting all kind of people back on that spout the same bullshit that Alex Jones spouts. But the difference is they haven't been held liable in court. They haven't been found guilty in court and owe $1 billion. And Elon don't want no part of that. That's the only reason. It ain't because Elon cares. He's going to let many people back on Twitter that are more vile and as vile as Alex Jones. He's already said he's going to do it. He already had his little poll the other day. Should I let all the suspended accounts back on? And he said he's going to do it. So why is Alex being specifically not? Why is that just a straight no? I just explained it to you. Because Alex Jones is a liability for any platform that dares let him on right now. No one wants to touch that motherfucker. Now, the person that posted this screenshot of Elon's tweet, they say Elon's child died in his arms the same way he founded PayPal. There's a myth that Elon founded Tesla, that Elon founded PayPal. He didn't do any of these things. A couple other guys founded Tesla. Elon just bought in. Elon was part of a company that merged with another company to form PayPal, and then Elon left that company like immediately. So Elon did not found PayPal. That's another bullshit myth. That's why this person is saying this. Why is this person likening that to Elon's child dying in his arms? In other words, that must be a lie too. This is why. Because his ex-wife, after Elon tweeted, hey, my firstborn child died in my arms, I felt his last heartbeat. I have no mercy for anyone who would use deaths of children for gain politically or otherwise. His ex-wife, under that tweet, explains. Her name is Justine. A SIDS-related incident that put him on life support. He was declared brain dead. She's talking about the child. And not that it matters to anyone except me, because it's one of the most sacred and defining moments of my life. But I was the one holding him. So we learn now, I mistakenly thought Elon was human for once. We learn now that Elon lied and said that he was holding his child when it died. No, his wife was holding his child when it died. So he lied about that. He could have said his wife was holding the child and he was in the room. That would have been just as powerful. He didn't say that. It's always got to be about him. The point is, he's even got to lie about that. So I was mistaken when I thought Elon was human for once. He wasn't. He was lying again about that of all things. And I also have a couple comments that people left on this thread. This person says, because as always, and I'll get to this other comment, as always, you get simps and people that will just defend Elon no matter what. And what happened? Someone in hospice that works in hospice defended Elon. So people are responding. This person says, it ain't that complicated. He lied. He could have said the truth, and it would have been just as emotionally impactful. Instead, he lied about his ex-wife's experience and used it to make him seem human. She said that a few weeks later, Elon told her to get over it. And that's my point as well. Let's read that one sentence again. Instead, he lied about his ex-wife's experience and used it to make him seem human. And I found this comment striking because that's the feeling I got when I read Elon's comment before the truth was put out. I was like, wow, maybe Elon does have a little humanity. Boy, was I dead fucking wrong. See, I'm not a total asshole. I try and give people the benefit of the doubt when they write something like, my child died in my arms. I gave them the benefit of the doubt on that one. I'm a fucking idiot for doing that. I'm showing you the proof of why I'm an idiot for giving Elon the benefit of the fucking doubt and thinking he was human for once. Let's continue. Oh, here's the hospice guy. After his initial comment, he posted some other because he saw people were jumping all over his shit. This is the hospice guy. I can't let this go. Even if he wasn't holding the baby at the final moment, who the fuck cares? He lost his baby, his child. I've seen so many people pass. You don't need to be holding them to notice them leave the room. You don't need to be holding them to feel that pain. Now, this guy's first comment was, I work in hospice, and so what if he wasn't holding the child and blah, 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 blah. So he basically expands on that comment. Someone responds to him. Many people responded to him. Or he could have just told the truth and said he watched his child die in his wife's arms. I'm a firefighter, and I've also watched lots of people die. I just didn't have Elon's cock in my mouth like you do. Brilliant comment. Brilliant. Let me read that sentence again because I loved it. I laughed my ass off when I read this. I'm a firefighter, and I have also watched lots of people die. I just didn't have Elon's cock in my mouth like you do. And boy, online, I see people praising Elon Musk every day, all day, like he's God. These are probably people that have a lot of stock in Tesla, have an interest in him for some financial reason. Trolls, bots, all of that, all of the above. Let's continue. Oh, that's the last comment I have. Now, again, I mistakenly thought Elon was human for a minute. Now we know the truth. His wife was holding the child. Elon could have easily said that. He didn't have to make it about him. He didn't have to try and convince people that he's human. He could have said, yeah, I was standing there, my wife was holding our child when he took his last breath. No, he didn't say that. Again, he lied to make it seem like he's human. Now, I talked yesterday about Teslas and autopilot and my concerns over it. And today, again, these tweets show up in my feed. I wasn't looking for them. So Tesla, Elon announced, I don't know, yesterday, the day before, or the day before that, about, he's rolling out the download for the Tesla autopilot. People can pay $15,000, download this autopilot to their car. And I told you guys yesterday, I was worried that this technology is not perfected. That one expert said this technology will try and kill you at some point. It's not an if, it's a when. And again, they're not saying that the technology has a brain and it maliciously wants to kill you. What they're saying is the technology is imperfect and you're going to have to take over and you're going to have to be alert. Keep your hands on the wheel. Be ready to hit the gas or the brake. Be ready to turn. Be ready to take over because the autopilot is far from perfect. In my opinion, that's not autopilot. That's an experiment and we're all part of it. We're all the guinea pigs. So I have a couple tweets that people put up about this, literally the next day after I talked about it. This guy says, I love it, but have a concern. The car slams the brakes on inappropriately. Twice a car was entering an on-ramp and yielding. Brakes slammed hard and could have caused an accident. A car was turning left the other day, stopped, and my car just slammed the brakes on the highway. That's pretty fucking dangerous, right? And this is the type shit I'm worried about. I'm next to a Tesla. I'm behind a Tesla. Let's say we're going 50 some miles an hour. He says it slams the brakes on the highway, 65 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. One of these fucking things slams the brakes on. I'm fucked, right? Or someone else is fucked. This is the shit I'm worried about with this technology. It is not perfected. And I've seen stock analysts say, oh, the Tesla stock's going to go up now. It's going to make $1 billion off this autopilot. Or it could go the other way. The autopilot could suck. And a lot of people could, get in accidents. Stock could continue to go down. Stock's been going down for a fucking year now. Hard. Tesla stock. So it could go either way here. The stock went up the other day a couple points. Now it went back down a couple points. But Elon's antics, since he's owned Twitter, is part of the reason the stock is going down. Here's another one. And this person basically posted Elon's announcement that you could now download the self-driving thing for your Tesla. And they said this happened less than 24 hours later, this happened. 2 separate crashes on heavily trafficked Bay Area bridges sent at least half a dozen people to the hospital and dashed Thanksgiving Day plans for countless more travelers. At least 4 hospitalized Bay Bridge, Carquinez Bridge, Thanksgiving crashes. 2 separate crashes on heavily trafficked Bay Area bridges sent at least half a dozen people to the hospital and dashed Thanksgiving Day plans for countless others. Let's go to the next one. Notice this doesn't say Tesla in it, but then there's an explanation. And there's a picture of the accident, and that's a news report from that area. Well, yeah, astronauts died trying to get to with the Apollo shit and all that. Anyway, according to California Highway Patrol, 6 cars were involved in a crash on the Bay Bridge just before 1 p.m. At least 2 were taken to the hospital. The San Francisco Fire Department said 6 people were trapped in cars and had to be rescued. Shayna Kelly, who was driving at the time of the crash, said a Tesla was abruptly stopping and swerving just before the crash. He just made a sudden stop, Kelly said. There was nowhere to go. You couldn't go left, right, nowhere. Officials say 16 people were involved in the car crash, 8 adults and 8 kids. So here's where Tesla comes in. Now, to be fair, it does not say that autopilot was involved. I want to be fair here. But it's very likely that the autopilot was involved. I just read you one guy's comment about this thing slammed on the brakes on the highway on his car. That's a different person. Now I'm reading you a description by a news channel of a car crash involving a Tesla, and the witness says the Tesla just slammed on its brakes and was swerving. Could have been human error, could have been autopilot. I have a feeling, since the shit was just rolled out, could have been autopilot. What's the point? The point is, I'm talking about an important issue that could affect a lot of people's lives. That's the point. If you're not interested, fine. You don't have to watch me. Yeah, airplanes have autopilot, but you're in the air. It's a different scenario. There's not 1,000 obstacles in the air. So autopilot on a plane is a much safer endeavor, in my opinion. Autopilot on a car, on the fucking other hand, is not. When you have to react quickly, people, stopping short in front of you, people doing crazy shit. Autopilot in the air is a whole different animal. But the point is, I'm personally worried that things like this are going to happen, that these Teslas are going to get people fucking killed, because people, either they'll malfunction or just the autopilot isn't perfected to the point where it doesn't do things like slam the brakes at 60 and 75 miles an hour. It obviously isn't perfected to that point where it doesn't do that. I'm also worried about, I talked in yesterday's video about, because the experts say you still have to keep your hands on the wheel, you still have to be alert, etc. You have to be ready to take over at a split second's notice. You can't sit back and relax and let this thing drive for you. I'm worried, because I know how human beings are, that they are going to sit back and relax and let the thing drive. And people will die as a result. They won't be alert. They won't be attentive to the steering wheel. They won't be, ready to hit the brakes or the gas. Because humans, especially in this modern era, are lazy as fuck. Well, you say that's Darwinism. The problem with that, the problem with just, that's Darwinism is, it's not just the driver of the Tesla that's going to get killed. Somebody else is going to get killed, or someone else's car is going to get ruined. That's the problem with just being like, having a blasé attitude, like, that's Darwinism. I don't want to die because a Tesla owner is a moron, or doesn't care, or is inconsiderate, or is lazy, or is busy on their phone talking to their baby mama or their baby daddy, or whatever the fuck they're doing in life that I could care less about. I don't want other people to die because of that. And yes, you can say it's not a perfected technology, and that's just how the world works and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't want to be part of the experiment. I don't want to be the guinea pig for the Tesla owners, the owners of the cars and the owner of the company. I don't want to be their guinea pig, and I have no say in it. So in my opinion, that's really fucked up, and I don't like it. That's true. You have a chance of dying without autopilot. That, yes, human error. So that means it's okay to put unperfected technology out on the road. Let's make it worse, is what you're saying. I see I have two brilliant individuals that don't usually watch my channel. I guess it's because I mentioned Elon Musk or something. So your philosophy, let me get this straight. Since we already have human error and accidents and bad things, why don't we throw this unperfected technology out there so we can make it worse? That's your idea. Okay. Jerk off. How would I propose it gets better? Don't release the technology till it's perfected. That's how. Jerk off. That's how. You can't come up with that yourself. You got to ask me. Because again, autopilot in the air is much different than autopilot on the ground. And at least the pilots in the air, you perfect it not on public roads. That's how you do it. Not on public roads until it's perfect. That's when you unveil it. Simple. Simple. But again, autopilot in the air, you don't have all these obstacles. I understand that no technology is ever perfect. Still, that's not good enough for me. I'm not willing. Maybe you are. I'm not. I'm not willing to have people die to perfect this technology. If you can't get it perfect in the lab, because this is a step beyond here. This is a step beyond a lot of things. Having cars drive themselves. What does chemo have to do with it? Look, whoever you two people are, I can tell you don't watch my channel. You're probably only here because I mentioned Elon Musk, and I could see where this is going. So I'm going to have to cut it off at this point. Because you're just going to keep pushing, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What about my dick? All I'm saying, cracker, is I don't want to be the guinea pig for this little experiment. And you can mention chemo and all these other things. We're already the guinea pigs for all those experiments. I don't want to be the guinea pig for this experiment. I think we're guinea pigs for enough experiments. I'm good. I'd like, I bow out. I'd like to bow out, but I can't because all these jerk-offs own Teslas. And now I have to be part of this experiment. And I could be one of the ones that die because the autopilot doesn't work, or some jerk-off is playing with their phone and leaning back while the autopilot's engaged and not ready to take over the car. Anyway, that's all I really have to say tonight. I hope everyone has a good evening. Good evening.